What's your assessment of this alert?
It's a clusterfuck.
Interesting observation, Gunny.
Will you stand shoulder to shoulder to defend the Republic? As your representative, I swore an oath to defend the Republic against enemies foreign and domestic. Now that I've been to Washington and I've seen the belly of the beast, I can tell you that I've met the enemy, and the enemy is too often right here in this town. In Congress, and frankly, many times in both parties. In bipartisan fashion, Congress defies its own rules. They're supposed to publish the bills in advance so we can read the bills. Reading the bills shouldn't be too difficult, should it? The president acts like he's a king. He ignores the Constitution. He arrogantly says, "If Congress will not act, then I must." These are not the words of a great leader. These are the words that sound more like the exclamations of an autocrat. The Constitution says that only Congress may declare war. Yet this president has in Libya, and then this week in Syria, committed our sons and daughters to a war that is not authorized by Congress. How did we stray so far from the Constitution? And how do we find our way back to the traditions of our founders? Government can supply bread, but it can't mend a broken spirit. No government, no law can force a people to be virtuous. Our churches, our schools, our parents must fill that void. This isn't the norm now. This summer, I introduced legislation to stop foreign aid to any country that has the death penalty or life in prison for Christians or other religions for making religious freedom choices. Both Republican and Democrats voted against this amendment overwhelmingly. The committee voted 16-2 to continue this indiscriminate aid to these countries regardless of whether they persecute Christians. I don't think anybody out in America really agrees with that, and that's why you really have to stand up and send a message to them up here, because they're not listening. It's time to put a stop to this madness. Re-examine our foreign policy, halt all aid to Islamic radicals in Syria, Egypt, and elsewhere, and take a good hard look at what our foreign policy has done. You and I must and should stand with our fellow Christians in the Middle East, around the world. But that does not necessarily mean war, and it certainly does not mean arming both sides in every conflict. I try to remember each day Corinthians 3:17. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. I hope Christians everywhere will remember that the reverse is true. Where there is liberty, there is always plenty of space for God. Thank you very much for having me.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without crying. Now I want to understand. I have done all that I could to see the evil and the good without hiding. You must help me if you can. Doctor, my eyes, tell me what is wrong. Was I unwise to leave them open for so long?
And that's why you really have to stand up and send a message to them up here, because they're not listening.